Alright, so this video is taking up some of the questions in the diagnostic. So for this first question here, remember that it's not just how big the base is, it's also how many times the power or the base gets repeated. And so 2 to the 6 is 64, and 4 to the 3 is actually also 64. 3 to the 4 is 81, and 1 to the 100 is 1. So be careful with that. Remember, it's 1 times 1 times 1 repeated 100 times. So the largest would be 3 to the 4. So this next one, 5% of 200. So remember, when you have 5% of something, a couple things you have to do. Always when you're working with percents, you have to change them into a decimal, because 5% really means 5 over 100, or 5 out of 100, which is actually 0.05. Of means to multiply. And so when you're doing this one, you want to turn the question by doing 5 divided by 100, or moving the decimal 2 places to the right, and then you'll get an answer of 10. If we look at question 3, 0.28 is a fraction. So again, just a quick review. When there's one decimal place, it's in the tenths spot, and so you would put the number over 10. When there are two decimal places, like in this one, it's in the hundredth place, and so you'd put the number over 100. 3 decimal places would be the thousandths, and so you'd put it over 1,000, and so on. So this particular one would be 28 over 100. And then, of course, you have to simplify. So what goes into both the top and the bottom? So, for example, 4 goes into the top and 4 goes into the bottom, and that would be the simplest answer that you can get. For question 4, putting a number into standard form. That just means taking it out of scientific notation and making it a regular number. So remember, 10 to the 5 means to move the decimal 5 places to the right. So currently the decimal is in that place there. So all you have to do is move it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the right, which would actually result in adding 3 zeros. And so 1.35 times 10 to the 5 becomes 135,000. Part B is the opposite of that. It's taking it from standard form and asking you to put it into scientific notation. So again, just like the one up here, scientific notation is a number between 1 and 10, and times 10 to the exponent of something. So in this case, 6.85 would be the number between 1 and 10. And then all you have to do is figure out how many times the decimal had to move to make it that. And so the decimal would be here. So it moves 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this will be times 10 to the exponent of 8. And if we look at question 5, this question is reviewing the exponent rules. So remember, when you multiply powers with the same base, you keep the base, so we keep the base of 2, and we add the exponents, so we would get 10. This next one uses the division rule. So when you're dividing powers with the same base, you keep the base and subtract. So 7 minus 3 is 4. Now, this is a little bit tricky. 5 by itself means 5 to the 1, so be careful with that. So now, when you add these using the multiplication rule, you'll get 5 to the 5. If we keep going, this next one is the power to a power rule. And when you're raising a power to a power, you multiply the exponents and keep the base. So the base will be 2, and the exponents will be 6. And then remember, anything to the exponent of 0 is always equal to 1.